Welcome to this week's episode of Sunday Night Live. My good buddy Paul Machine and I from Black Book, we are coming to you live from Las Vegas, Nevada. Let me just adjust this a little bit. How's that? Yeah. This way people don't think I have a flat head. Although some people might think that. So we are coming to you live from Las Vegas, Nevada. And we just kind of wanted to share our experience with this year's show. It's been interesting for me. I know it's been interesting for Paul. We may have had some different experiences, but we've been busy.
Sure have. It's been one of those shows where I didn't have much downtime.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, not much downtime at all. It kicked off fast. I actually flew in Wednesday, so 2 days before the show started, because I had people who wanted to connect and meet.
Right.
And so we did. And that kind of gave me an expectation. It's going to be a high level of interest to learn at this show. That's what I found.
And that was my plan. My plan this year was to come in and gather intel for, I'm in a lot of stores.
Right.
And variable and fixed ops training. I wanted to kind of find out what's out there and even some of the tooling that the stores are already using, so that I have a little bit better understanding of the back end, right? So I can help them better utilize tools, because I think 2024 is going to be an interesting year in automotive.
Yep. What I thought was pretty slick is how you were saying you went to certain booths. I know your tool, and I know some of my dealer groups are using your tool.
Yep.
Can you give me some insights on how I can help them use your tool better?
There you go.
That's probably something that a vendor partner is not used to hearing.
Yeah.
From a consultant, saying, I'm in stores that are using your technology, and I think I can help them do it
better utilize. And I've got a funny thing about that. Now, because we're coming to you live on remote, on mobile, I've got to lean forward for the comments. Robert Allen Carvel, hope you had a good time at NADA. I had a fabulous time.
So did I. Hey, Robert. And Mark Rodriguez,
hello from 30,000 feet.
He's flying back.
We were able to enjoy a nice dinner. My friend Lynette, hello from the Bellagio.
Hey, Lynette.
I know, because I was just there. So, interesting about that, right? So, I'm a big proponent for training.
Absolutely.
And I think that training is the first thing that gets cut from every budget. Mm-hmm. And sometimes we look through a particular lens and we think that it's just one sector or another sector. But what I discovered is training is something that everybody needs.
More so now than ever, because what we just came through was an easy, I won't even call it selling, it was get in line, order takers.
Yep.
And so you have these people making $200,000-$300,000 a year, like standing in the showroom and not really doing any real work. And I met a lot of my buddies, my dealer buddies, and that was their number one complaint, is trying to retrain these people that were making $200,000-$300,000 a year, how they can make it in this environment.
And you can.
They have to work. I mean, they legitimately have to work, and they're finding that they don't want to. So they're wholesale rehires, so they can raise them up the right way, and that's training, right? As you and I always talk about, that's got to be a core requirement, ongoing, consistent training. And the ultimate trainer is what the desk asks people to do every day.
Right.
One of my buddies was talking to us, explaining to him, I said, well, you might spend $10 grand bringing in a badass consultant who spends a week with all of your people.
Yeah.
And they're all gung-ho with the very first pencil, very first time they got to work a deal with the desk, and the desk does something completely opposite of what they've been trained for.
They're out.
All that training's done.
Yeah.
Done. They're being retrained to do what the desk wants them to do. So you got to start from the top. So everyone knows this is how you want this to be.
Right.
The process cannot be delayed.
Trust the process, because the process works. We got Squire Pettis. Says, hope you enjoyed yourselves. Always good to hear your voice. Thank you, man. Thank you. Much appreciated.
So I am still dressed like I'm in Vegas, because I am in Vegas, just so you know. He's still working. I'm going to take my wife to dinner, so I figured I'd put on a Vegas vibe for you folks.
So here's an interesting observation that I have. Okay, so as part of my role, I mystery shop stores because I want to see what do they need.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Everybody says, "Oh, we do this, we do that, we invest." Where the rubber meets the road is when you stand in front of that salesperson or you call them on the phone and you ask them some basic questions.
Yep.
Okay, so we know at the store level that's something that is going to be heavily needed because we're in that COVID mindset.
Right.
The old take it or leave it, we've got other buyers. That close
Not
is
working
not
anymore.
going to be as effective.
Not working anymore.
But here's an interesting observation. Now, I've worked many NADAs where I've had the scanner, I'm in the booth, okay? And here's the interesting thing that I discovered. The people, some of the people that worked the booths, also needed more training prior to coming on the floor. And I'll give you an example. So I go in, I'm looking for intel, back-end intel on a particular product. So to be respectful of everybody's time, I lay out exactly what I'm looking for, okay? Yes, it doesn't say dealer, it says allied. But you never know the sphere of influence that somebody has.
That's right.
They don't know. I had 40 stores I was in and out of last year doing training with their tool. So I laid out specifically. I know the front end of it. I want to know some of the back end so that I can show them exactly how they can better maximize their opportunities.
That's right.
And sometimes I'd have to explain 4 or 5 times.
Yep.
I'm in the business, so I'm on your side. We're on the same side.
That's my point I was bringing up earlier. They're not used to that.
Right.
So they're like, okay, what's the end?
Right.
What are you trying to get at, right? Because your intention is to help them by getting better utilization from their clients.
Yes.
You're training to do a better job. Yeah.
And now here's the added value on something like that. You have to be able to listen and understand exactly what does this person bring to the table. Okay, maybe they're not a dealer, but they have influence with the dealer. If I can get them to better utilize your tool, then guess what happens? They are more happy because they're making more money.
That's right.
They're more receptive to, most companies have a suite of products, and not every dealer has every part of that suite of products. So I thought that was an interesting observation.
A great example is Black we have this history adjusted valuation.
Yeah.
And some of our partners will just show just the Black Book number.
Yeah.
So that we recommend you show the face value, the mileage deduction or add,
There you go.
region deduction or add, options add or and subtotal, right?
Yeah.
And then a history adjustment, positive or negative.
Yeah.
Total, right? Now we have battery adjusted BAV.
I love that.
For electric vehicles, right? So now after that, we have another adjustment, positive or negative.
Yeah.
There's your total number. So instead of giving that
Right.
on a page, because the real estate on the screen is limited.
Right.
I just show the number. But many of my clients, when they've said, I don't understand why the value is much lower on this VIN when I'm looking at it in XYZ inventory company.
Yeah.
So I have to tell them.
Right.
Well, if you see to the right side of that Black Book number, you see that little thing that looks like a tablet or a calculator, click on that. And when that opens up, you get that detailed description. It's something that I have to tell them to train.
Right.
When their partners put that inventory tool in, should be teaching and training, ongoing training. Go back to it.
Now, that is a crucial point. What I refer to as value-based selling.
Right.
Okay. Now, a lot of stores. Let's see. I don't want to miss any comments here.
Steven.
Mark Rodriguez says dealers cannot continue hiring and blaming the
Absolutely.
untrained.
Absolutely.
Steve Apicella, my good friend. We had breakfast the other morning. Thanks again, Steve. That was a wonderful time. I always look forward to our NADA breakfast together. It says, cheers to a very productive NADA show 2024. Grateful for our time together, Paul. Ditto, my friend. Steve's got a special spot right in my heart here, this guy.
He's an
and his
amazing guy.
family.
He's an amazing guy.
So getting back to the value-based selling, okay? I always tell all the stores that I work with, when you present numbers, whether it's the price of the new car or it's the value of the trade, as a consumer, let's say you're coming in as a consumer, and I plopped down a number, are you necessarily thinking that I'm doing right by you, or am I trying to steal your car?
Most customers will automatically think they're trying to steal the car.
Correct.
Because they always think it's worth more than what it really is.
They come in with that little piece of paper that's folded up real small, that's in the back pocket in case they need to pull it out, that says after they put in excellent condition and they missed the fact that the tires need replacement, they got used to the check engine light being on, all that stuff, and they forgot about the $8,000 damage repair they had done 2 years ago.
Or try to hide it.
Or try to hide it, right? So when you just plop down a number, I'm not thinking necessarily that that's in my best interest. So that's where the tennis match starts, right? It's an adversarial relationship right out of the gate, as opposed to what Paul's talking about here. You click on the thing, and now it walks you through all of the pieces. I'd rather suck at closing, if you'll pardon my French, and be able to explain every step of the way how we got to a specific number, what all the variables were, and possibly what all the competing cars are in the market within a certain radius, get their buy-in, teach them how to appraise cars, teach them, oh, man, it's a good thing you came in, your car, here, I show them on the gauge, on the lanyard, your car needs tires, good thing, it takes you longer to stop. Get their buy-in. With a tool like yours, you get the buy-in, it's a lot easier to agree, and then go on to the next step.
So, one of the things that I thought was really interesting, we're talking about, understanding, from my perspective, why your model vehicle, why these cars. So, a trend that I've noticed started about 2 months ago, that dealers, especially franchise, are going older, they're going deeper into the funnel of available inventory that's out on the streets now, customers driving it, trying to pick up that, what we call unicorns, right?
Right.
It might be a 2009 model vehicle, but it's got 350,000 miles. Still low mileage per year, right?
They're buying those cars.
And this thing looks like it's showing you.
Isn't that crazy?
I call that vehicle a loved vehicle. It's well maintained and cared for. So that kind of vehicle will sell for what, 10.9 if it's properly equipped. And we have lenders now, fintech companies that'll finance that very vehicle with the right kind of credit up to 40 years. So
that's crazy.
Yeah.
Talk about affordability.
Right. So we have, you and I have been talking about the affordability crisis a lot.
4 years.
And that's been the number one expressed concern I heard, not just from my SaaS partners. They're hearing it from their customer, the dealer, but every dealer group I spoke to. I know I'm not able to close all my deals. I didn't realize how our walk rate was so high because we couldn't get to a payment. Right. So when you talk about the training, how do you retrain the organization to look for that opportunity, buy that opportunity?
They're out there.
Oh, it's huge. One of the largest groups that I can share, I won't say their name, nationwide, they probably got about 1,600 units that fit that parameter. 2009 and newer, high mileage vehicles that you and I you look at it, like I said, 359,000 miles. For a year, it's considered low mileage. Now, talk about the recon on that piece of inventory. Before the show started, we were talking about how service and parts is going to be absolutely critical this year.
Yeah.
Well, how about reconditioning? If you're going after that older inventory, there's going to be more reconditioning expense associated to it.
Yeah.
If it's not like a big condition already.
Right.
From the customer's driver. So what kind of tools do you need? What kind of training do you need? Did you get to Dubai and see the people at Velo?
I did not.
So Velo has, so they merged. They have Rapid Recon and Recon Velocity.
Oh.
So they bought both the companies and they're one now.
Okay. I was aware of that. I didn't put two and two together that the new name.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that they're really helping dealers grasp is traditionally a dealer thinks, my time to frontline ready might be, I think it's going to be 3 days, but in reality it's 7 to 9.
Yeah, but you know what? It's got to be 2-3 days.
It has to be 2. You're right. And it could be better if you have a right recon structure, and the right recon team.
Yeah.
You have a defined process and you get into it. Go back to the training, having the right tools, the right people in
Yeah.
the right places, right? And 2024 is going to be I think it's going to be a very unstable year as far as affordability. And we need to be able to provide dealers with the training and the tools that they can pivot really quick
Right.
and adapt to it. I mean, what was your experience? Did you get to talk to any dealer groups or whatnot to hear what their number one theme was or their concerns?
Affordability was very high on everybody's list. Talked to a number of dealers. You know, some of them are looking at 10, 12, 14-day recon.
Yeah.
That's insane.
It's unacceptable.
I had a
Unacceptable.
friend of mine that had some issues, okay, was in dire need of having to buy a car. I sent him to a particular store, had a car that just came in. Okay. The person needed a car. The car was totaled. I need a car now. Guess what? 14 days it took to recon that car. By the third day, my friend was already driving somebody else's car.
Right. If you have the ability to get a vehicle front line ready,
Yeah.
if it's an A-class condition grade car, there's no reason why that car shouldn't be ready within the first 45 minutes to an hour.
Make the commitment.
Right. B-class might be 2 to 3 hours worth of dedicated recon work.
Right.
C-class might be a day's worth. Anything beyond that, maybe 2 days.
Right.
If you got it right now, there is a caveat, a warning we have to put out there, is that we are starting to edge up on another supply chain crisis. What's going on in the Middle East and the Red Sea? We're seeing and hearing that these super tankers that have these parts that we need to come through the Red Sea, but to come to the West, they're not making it. Right. So what's our next supply chain crisis going to look like? What will it be? So in lieu of that, I think with data and the right technology, you would know.
Right.
You would know that if a certain type of, let's say a Mazda, right, and for whatever reason there's a supply chain crisis on Mazda bumpers, well, don't buy a Mazda right now. Or if you're going to trade for one, put the money in it right, because you might be sitting on that car for a while, right? And so identifying what are the risks.
Data-driven decisions.
Data-driven decisions.
Can't say that enough times.
Oh, absolutely. And what I was so encouraged by, especially talking to dealer groups, is the willingness and readiness to do data-driven decisions.
Yeah.
I have one group that they asked me, I want to be able to take all of my inventory, I'm going to create a dashboard, and I want to be able to put some predictive analytics and other cool stuff into it, so it can tell me when I need to turn the vehicle at the right speed. I don't want a cookie cutter approach, right? I want my approach. If I think of something, I can make a change in the code and I can get it done.
Did you see John Ellis's program?
Yeah.
Beautiful.
It is.
We did it. If you look in my feed, you'll see there's a video that I did with John Ellis. He's got a pretty amazing tool there.
Yep.
And you know what else I discovered? Certainly Recon Velocity and Rapid Recon, those are great companies, established, been there, and are leaders in the field. But recently, iPad acquired a recon company. So that, there's more players in the space now.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And in talking with Rini, that's a pretty interesting program.
Right. So they all see what dealers need.
Right.
And that's one of the things I like talking to entrepreneurial minded.
Yes.
Because they not only think critically,
Yeah.
they think what will the need be, and they start designing and planning and getting going for it. And then what we have here at the show is a mixture of both.
Yeah.
You get to talk to these fantastic dealers who are really thought movers in the industry, and to hear how they want to use certain types of data, certain types of technology to make those data-driven decisions. I mean, I get goosebumps when I think about it.
Let me check the comments here. Let's see what we have. Let's see. Oh, we got.
Oh, it looks like we got something to cut up on.
All right, Mark Rodriguez. The significant selling performance problems we face today cannot be solved with the same old thinking of we had during the pandemic. Twist on an Albert Einstein quote. Yes, for sure. And Squire Pettis says, I hear someone tell me that the best sales staff or organizations don't close the client. They guide the client to the business decision.
That's very true.
That is, you know what? The sales model has changed. We are not salespeople, we are educators. Okay? Our job is to get better at uncovering the key decisions to purchase. Why did you come into my store? What is your need? What did you like about the old one? How have your needs changed? So that now, if I do a better job assessing the needs, now I can spend, that 80-20 rule that seems to keep popping up. If I spend 80% of my time covering the 20% of the car that you really care about, and I ask you afterwards, how did I do? You're gonna say, all right, you did fantastic. You told me everything I needed and more, even though I may have missed a lot of the other part that you don't care about. So great comment, Squire. Appreciate that, man. And Mark Rodriguez says, key mistake being made is not including management in the sales training. Oh my God. Oh my God. And sales training is not just the nuts and bolts, right?
No, it's
soft skills.
Yep.
How many times do you hear people getting trained on soft skills? How many people are doing a Dale Carnegie course or some of these other fabulous programs out there?
That's right. One of the best programs I ever came across back in the 90s, it was called Neuro-Linguistic Programming.
Oh my God.
Today it's called soft skills.
Right. What is the person saying?
Right. Why are they saying it the way they say it?
Yeah.
Pace, pitch, tonality. How can you match, mirror? Or if you need to realign the consumer. How do you break rapport just enough to make it uncomfortable so you can get back on track?
And now the beauty of that is, everything ties together. Okay. I think the goal is for you and I to be standing in close proximity to talk about your automotive needs.
Yep.
Because I can do a better job assessing whether or not I'm on the right track or what's best for you. 55% of communication is body language.
That's right. So you bring up a great point when you talk about the soft skills, that face-to-face interaction.
Yeah.
The second one was generative AI. I heard that everywhere.
Right.
And it will. There's going to come a time where a robust platform can engage all of that, mirror that, and take a customer from A to Z.
Yeah.
Full delivery. Right. I want the car delivered to me.
Yeah.
They've done it completely online.
Fight the economy, you
right. Bring it to me, dealer. And that when that happens, that's another level we've got to get used to. Because then, as more and more people start to embrace the ease of doing business that way, right? They're going to do it. I'll give you a great example. I'm renting a car tomorrow. Yeah. And I went through a list of all these vehicles, and nope, you want me to go to here? Don't want to go there. Don't want to go there. They'll bring it to my location.
Right.
I rented that car. It'll show up here tomorrow at 10 o'clock. All I got to do is take pictures and videos and walk around it. They'll be back tomorrow, like 7:30, 8. All I got to do is make sure it's got gas in it with the keys, and they go, and I'm done. Convenience. That's what I want.
Right.
That's what everybody
wants.
Right.
Let's see what we have here. All right. Squire says the right recon team means that we now have a focus on fixed operations, as this is going to carry profits in 2024. 100%. And now, because I'm on only one device, it comes across as LinkedIn user. I don't know who that is. It might be Craig Tomazik. It might be somebody else. It says, absolutely fabulous show this year. Great to meet and see everyone. IQ Monitoring, check us out. Sword at iqmonitoring.com and a phone number. Excellent. Let me highlight that on the screen.
We'll be reaching out to you, brother.
Definitely. And it's an absolutely fabulous show this year. Great to meet. Oh, it came out twice. Yeah. So getting back to the goal of being in front of the person, right? Now, I don't know what the exact number is, but I'm going to guess it's somewhere north of 99% of people, before they buy something, they do an online survey.
Yep.
Right? Now, I don't know if you've got a chance to see it, the friction study by CDK. Did you get a chance to see that? Powerful study. What they found was, in talking to real people, is that consumers still prefer an in-store experience, touch, feel, in store, but only when it's coupled with an online experience that is seamless and that is integrated in the store. So if I'm going to do better by having the person in front of me and having this conversation, and everybody goes through the gatekeeper of online, then we need to step up our online game.
That's right. Talking about the online game, so I don't know what that number looks like now, but when I used to study dealership websites for advice, consulting for that, it was not uncommon for me to come across 3 different types of trade widgets.
Yeah, I'm the same one.
3 different, so consumer, okay, what's my number?
Right.
What's my real number? And then they've done all this work on your website. Then they go to the store and you're bringing them through a process that they've already been confused on, and now they're getting more confused instead of just having that one seamless approach. And to be quite honest, that's what the OEs are trying to get to on the tier 1 sites when they're saying we're going to put and a lot of them are using our data to create what's called a Black Book guarantee.
Yeah.
Right? You go to a Cadillac and you're signing up to buy a Cadillac. Right, we'll buy your car. Right? You go through the process. That's one number.
Right.
If you want to take your car to the dealership, that dealership gets that information, and the process is exactly the same.
Now, but key portion here, the dealer gets the number.
Yep.
But now we've got to ask ourselves, what percentage of those dealers are actually carrying that online process into the store? Because I venture to say that you ask most stores, how's your digital retailing tool? Oh, it's okay. Well, what's the utilization? Well, it's low.
Yep.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. Well, how low is it? Do you know what the percentage is? Well, no, we don't. Red flag number 1, you should know what the data is in your tool.
That's right. That's right.
So then my follow-up question, so how are you promoting it? How are you promoting the tool? And here's the interesting answer. Well, it's on our website. That just gave me the answer right there. That means you're not promoting it.
That's right.
So if I've got a tool, I need to use it for me, not because the OEM says you must have this tool. If you leverage it, okay, 81% of people will bounce out of a website if you require PII, which is personal identifiable information, prior to them getting the information they want. Okay. It's real funny. I'm in a group meeting, and it was a store that had a locked digital retail tool.
Right.
So to illustrate the exercise, I said, all right, listen, I want you guys to ask me anything you want about automotive. Ask me anything. So the first person asked me a question. I said, well, I'd love to answer that question for you, but before I answer that question, I need your name, first name, last name, date of birth, phone number, address, social security number, and all these other things.
You haven't even earned the right to ask for them.
I haven't earned the right. The first guy said, no, I'm not giving you anything. Hey, no problem. All right, who's next? Who wants to ask a question? I went through this with 4 different people in that meeting. I said, okay, so I think we're pretty much all on the same page here. So let me show you something. So we go on their website. I said, hey, you have a beautiful website. It's nicely laid out. It's not too congested. There's beautiful real pictures, not stock photos. Looks great. I'd like to find out a little bit about this car here. So I click on the, the VDP. Gee, I don't know if I can afford this car, Willie.
Right.
Let me find out. Here, I'm going to click on work your payments. Boom. I need your name, I need all this stuff. So, oh man, no, I can't do that. Let me look at a different car.
Right.
So they started laughing. They said, no, we get it. We get your point.
Right.
We need to do something about that.
That's right. People want the consumers, and the pandemic is what accelerated.
Yeah.
You ever hear that one expression of sometimes there are decades where no changes happen.
Yeah.
And then there are weeks and months where decades have changed.
And that's where we're at now.
And we went through that, right? We did. So we have a consumer out there that was basically trained to shop from the couch.
Yeah.
Because that's how they had to. They couldn't get out. And we have a dealer community that's just now starting to embrace that kind of digital technology, but they have not followed through with that seamless from online to online.
there's one particular OEM. It is heavily pushed by the mothership. And I talked to people. I said, hey, how are you guys using this? How are the customers using that? And they tell me, man, we love it. It gives us everything we need. It gives the customers everything they need. If the customer hasn't already started the process online, guess what they do? They open it up in store and they start the process.
Right. I love this. I had a dealer come up to me and the guy says, "Oh, I stole something." I said, "What's that?" He pulls out his phone. It was the power no longer belongs to my used car manager or my GM or my sales manager to put a number in the car. Everybody has it.
Yeah.
And he designed a proprietary tool so that everyone in his organization, top down, front to back, can do that.
Yeah.
Right. So someone wants to start a process by the car, they go to this technology first to put input. If there's a trade, gets that knocked out of the way while the customer's there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the rest of the flow, just super smart.
Now, that's not rocket science we're talking about here. Okay? As a matter of fact, I believe it was 1996.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I forget the exact year, but there's an article. I used to work for Saab at the time, and they featured us in the magazine because we went to a customer's house in a neighboring city. We bought her car, and we delivered the new car. They thought that was, I hate buzzwords, but everybody loves it. They thought it was revolutionary. But it was really nothing crazy.
No, that's
right.
right.
I remember, I'm not going to get this deal if I don't do this. So I did it. We were buying cars over the phone, and I swear to God, we were coming within a nickel of the value if you ask the right questions.
Yes, right questions, right.
Up front, don't be afraid to give somebody a number.
That's right.
Because if people are shopping around, water flows through the path of least resistance.
And especially if you know you're using premium data, like Blackbook did. I'm not saying it just because I represent Blackbook. But
It's a good company.
It's the reality. If you got to take that vehicle to the lane, it's a Blackbook number that you're being exposed. That's your risk.
Right.
So why not do that at the point of acquisition on everything? So you know, and then take it a step further. You talk about data. What is your retail market doing? So
Right.
I had an example where I had another dealer gave me a VIN number from his inventory, and he has a habit of benchmarking everything in his comps
Yeah.
with a 300-mile radius. I said, well, don't you look at your backyard first? It's because you have credibility in the backyard. Right? You have power and influence in your community. So you're more likely to have faster turn times and higher asking targets than you might if you dilute your data by going out 300 miles where you don't.
That's way too far. That's not your
Right.
That's not your AR.
Right. The difference on the example, the one VIN you gave me, we had 60 days to turn.
Yeah.
We had a price point. I would say it was 37,000.
Yeah.
Was the average price point on that in his backyard within a 25-mile region. And then I said, okay, let's go out to 300 miles. Went out to 300 miles. Gave up $3,000 in asking price.
And there's no need for it.
Right. His days to turn cycled up and nearly doubled. So instead of 60 days to turn, it was over 32. To be able for the exact same thing, he was just diluting his ability to market and capitalize on the strength that they've developed in their community. Still put it online,
Right.
but put it online at what your community will do. And if you get someone who's from 300 miles away, you can justify you're buying in my community.
Right. Here's the value and here's
Right.
why.
But that requires that conversation, that training to be able to have. I call that a consultative interview. To be able to do the right kind of process to walk a customer through that.
Right.
And the innovation.
And they'll understand.
Yeah.
And you'll get buy-in when you're presenting it that way.
That's right. And it was so cool to hear dealers asking me, how can I do this? How can I do that? If I want to do this, what do I need?
Right.
Instead of it being the other way around, I don't know what I need. Can you tell me?
Right.
So the pandemic has really raised them up to embrace more and do more. So that means we've got to do a better job of getting to them, our dealers, and educating them on what they can do.
Now, speaking of education, I saw quite a number of EV booths, charging
Right.
booths. I stopped and I talked to a number of them. Pretty interesting stuff because, you know, we've got all these companies in it. John Ellis is BEV Everything. Great company. Training, right? There's a lot of training that's available in the EV space, but I don't know if enough people are still taking advantage of it. And I don't want anybody to think I'm pro or con EV. I'm not. What I'm pro is the dealer not wasting money on floor plan. That's what I care about.
Right.
Because
That's right.
unless you embrace it, okay, so some of these EV companies I talked to, and we laughed because we talked about football field worth of roof space that a lot of stores are not utilizing, right? A lot of these EV charging companies, they do roof installs, they do field installs. We talk about a differentiator, right?
Yeah.
Stop chiming in to all of the other people that are complaining about EVs because they're not paying your floor plan. They're not. But definitely reach out to some of these companies that were at NADA and talk to them about what their offerings are. Because guess what? If I can differentiate myself as a dealership by offering some kind of an incentive to my EV customers, I stand a pretty good chance of bringing other people in from the outside.
Yep. And there's a data. One of our data partners is Recurrent.
Yep.
So they've got about 350 million miles of data.
350 million miles. Just
on
think
electric
about
vehicles, right? And they're adding about I think it's either 1 million miles a week or 1 million more miles of data a month. I'm not exactly sure which one it is, but they're adding even more to it. And so with their data combined with some other data points we have, we came up with a battery adjusted value. Basically, the expected health of that battery on that electric vehicle, which is the most expensive thing to replace, right? And what's interesting is it wasn't so much how old the car was and how many miles might be on it.
Mileage is immaterial at this point.
The health of the battery was really determined more by the way that vehicle's been maintained and charged.
Boom.
And charged, right? And the analogy I heard was, you know, if you ever used an off-brand charger for your cell phone,
Right.
and that starts to degrade your battery, right? Or it causes it to swell. I remember one time I did that, my cell phone swelled up because the battery, it was just too much charge. So even though all these providers are out there right now, it's still contingent on the dealer making sure this is the product I've got, this is what I'm selling. Do I have the right EV? And then educating the consumers to do the same thing.
This is how you need to do it.
Right.
You know, it was pretty interesting that when you rent certain cars, they just throw you the keys and you're on your own. I think it was 3 days later that I figured out all the buttons on this Cadillac rental that I had, right? But I think it was Hertz that I'm pretty sure. If I'm wrong on that, I'll correct it in the thread. But the amount of emails that they sent to their EV people about what to expect and things like that, I mean, we need more of that.
Yep.
And as to further the data piece of the EV and the valuations are excellent. You know, I see out of everything bad comes something good.
Yep.
Right. So if the EVs are dropping in value, okay, that's bad for the person that want them. But people still buy and sell cars, right? They take it on the chin and they move on. That should open up a larger pool of more affordable vehicles that can now take advantage of that.
Right, and we're starting to see that now. Yeah. We're seeing it's like, you know, Hertz is selling about 20,000 electric vehicles, right?
That's a lot of cars.
So they're it's enough that it, you know, so 20,000 electric vehicles showed up in the southeast. That's enough to influence the market valuation in, let's say, Georgia.
Right.
Right. So it's good to know that
Yeah.
and to pay attention to all these things. Yeah. I'm going to put a plug in for Recurrent. Every time you buy an electric vehicle, you become a subscriber to Recurrent. They will do the battery health test on the vehicle, and they'll update you. And that's part of the subscription. And they help educate the people on how to get the most out of the electric vehicle. John Ellis is doing something similar just like that. John's BEV everything. is absolutely, it's undiscovered. It's an undiscovered ownership, and he's helping people learn.
He's ahead of the curve.
Oh, he's way ahead of what he's doing, and he's going to do very, very well.
Now, I don't remember where I read it, but as it relates to the battery health, I saw somewhere that they last quite a long time.
Yeah.
On average.
Yeah. Yeah. Someone said that they looked at an 8-year-old vehicle with like 200-some-odd-thousand miles, and the battery was just as strong as it was the day before, right? Still charging up to 80%.
Right.
And it was well cared. Again, it was well.
Right.
The person who owned it had the right kind of home charger installed. Just get a modified kit to upcharge the wall plug.
Right.
It was done professionally, and he had the right kind of tools. And of course, he got the most out of that battery.
I grabbed a bunch of data in my travels because, again, my whole purpose for this trip was to get intel. And I never realized there's so many variations in charging, different chargers, capabilities, things like that. The booklet I picked up gave me a lot more information than I know about.
Yeah, we're going to, as more data becomes available in the marketplace and more competitors come in, we've got about 11 potential manufacturers that are coming to the U.S. with their EVs. Right? Imagine what that would do to the market. Right?
Yeah.
It's no longer just the big three.
Right.
American and big three import, Asian and big three Germans. It's going to be a hodgepodge of all these different types of manufacturers competing for that same dollar.
There was that one Chinese company that, for the first time ever, took the crown in sales.
Was it BYD?
I don't remember the name of it.
Yeah,
it might be. Is that the one by Warren Buffett?
I don't remember.
It is one of them.
Yeah.
So the landscape is changing, as we're having this conversation.
Oh, big time. Huge. Talk about the affordability crisis, Those EVs that Hertz is putting on the market is helping the affordability crisis. So people who otherwise could not afford a nice EV can now buy one in the marketplace. And if there are more price changes and adjustments made by that, will trickle down the economy.
But only if we educate the consumers as to exactly what's in it for them.
Right. I had a dealer ask me, what's the availability of the inventory? I know you do that. I said, well, let's take a look. What does it take to qualify for a $400 car payment on a 2020 to 2023 model used car that has anywhere between 1,000 to 45,000 miles? If a customer wants to be at $400 a month, and maybe put 10% down on average, right?
Yeah.
And so that price point was about $25,500. So if I'm going to be putting 10% down, I'm buying a little bit less. And if I got good credit after 72 months, at roughly 8%.
If you get good credit, you get, I was going to say 8-9%. It's not like the
right. But that's a $40 problem.
Right.
How many vehicles in inventory that's being listed for retail right now in the United States that fit those parameters?
I would say it's probably a smaller number.
It's less than 3,500.
Wow. Out of how many dealers?
16,800 franchise rooftops.
35.
Yes.
That's
3,500. And it fluctuates a little up and down. So it kind of tells you how stressed the market is on late model 0 to 3-year-old inventory. And now you have these inbound new manufacturers that are promising that their EVs are going to be sub 25,000.
Well, that's gonna push everything else down.
That's right.
And make more affordable units.
Yep.
It's so funny. Like, bad stuff happens, and out of the bad stuff happens, it forces the hand of other stuff that happens that people benefit from.
Yep.
Other than maybe the insurance companies. Insurance the values.
Yeah, the book Fourth Journey outlined it the best. It said, that the strong people create good times. Good times create weak people. Weak people create bad times. Bad times create strong people. And it's that cycle over and over again. And to your point, it's okay if we're going to go into a stress time. I'm just excited what's going to come out on the other end of it.
Right. because there's out of adversity comes opportunity.
That's right. That's right. And that's what we need to look for. And I've been hearing that. This is one of those shows where I heard that more frequently, especially from SaaS partners.
Yeah.
We see an opportunity because we see some of the trends that's in the marketplace. And then they have those dealer groups I was talking to come to me and ask, this is what I want to do. I said, what? I loved it. Yeah.
Now, you also need to be vigilant, because I saw a lot of things at the show, and I'm one of those nut jobs that I don't believe everything until I've done a certain amount of research.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, I watched a particular session talking about advertising, and we cut the cord quite some time ago. We stream what we want to watch, right? A lot of people do. So now I'm listening to what I'm hearing, and it sounded really good. The largest percentage of people get information on television. That was the statistic that was shared. And then it was further shared that, all of these other channels, whether it be streaming channels or internet channels, they are all secondary or third or fourth to the initial viewing on the television set. So it was kind of intimated that television advertising is probably your best source right now. I'm not sure I buy into that, and here's why. So as I'm listening to this talk, the inquisitive mind kicks in, the 7-year-old, and I take out my phone and I do a search. And what I found was 62% of people, when a commercial comes on, get up and do something different.
Yep.
Right? That wasn't discussed. So, but I don't leave it at just that. So initially I think, well, this is probably a digital marketing company that doesn't sell television. Okay? So they're going to naturally want to present or position themselves as, maybe that's not the greatest place for you, spend your money with us. So now I Googled that company, and I was happy to find that company is a media company that owns 58 television stations in 62 markets or something like that. So they clearly have no axe to grind with anybody.
Nope.
They're presenting all the information. So my message here is, because I'm standing there with the dealer principal of one of the groups that I train, and he was looking at it, and I could see the body language, right? That neuro-linguistic thing, the 55%. So I said to him, hey, it sounds pretty good, huh? He said, yeah, it really does. So I just want to share something with you, and I opened up the two web pages that I found the data. So there's a lot of products out there, and there's a lot of really great people behind those products, but don't take everything at face value.
Too much information out there to take it at face value.
Do the research. If something sounds good, chances are it probably is, but it doesn't hurt to do some due diligence. And that was a big takeaway for me from the show, because everybody's pitching their stuff, but not everything is necessarily the same value as it's presented. So as you're looking for new products for 2024, make the time to listen to everybody. If you know what you're doing and you've been in this field, okay, for a number of years, you should be able to ascertain within a few sentences
That's right.
whether or not the person that's standing in front of you brings value. If you just go like this, and the gatekeeper said, did you have an appointment? You want to leave your stuff behind, they'll call you. They're never going to call.
No.
They'll call you around the 5th and never. Right? Make the time to listen. And if it doesn't sound good within the first couple of sentences, that's when you do the old, oh man, Paul, I can't believe it. I've got a meeting I need to go into. But if you want to leave some stuff behind,
Right.
I'll get back to you as soon as I look at it.
Did you get the chance to stop and see any of the fintech companies that are out there?
I talked to so many. I didn't make note of all of them.
Right.
One interesting company that I did a video with also is Parts Tech. I don't know if you've heard of them or not.
I've heard of it.
That was so cool. So I did a video with them, right? And they're a marketplace for buying parts in the aftermarket. Your AutoZones, CarQuest, all those type of places, right? Now, cars, I think you shared with me, it's 13 years on the road now.
But we're getting close to 13.
All right. So cars are on the road longer and they need servicing, right? So what I shared in that video, because I could see a franchise dealer hearing aftermarket parts and saying, no, I'm out. But a Cox study, 7 in 10 go to the aftermarket for servicing.
Yeah.
Right? So they're selling more of the aftermarket parts than anybody else. So I said, why don't you just entertain the idea to bring in some older cars? Go with a sliding scale labor. Okay, the person that's got a brand new 24, maybe is in a different financial position as somebody that's got a 10-year-old car. Maybe if we offer them a lower labor rate and we present both the OEM dealer part as well as an aftermarket part. Here's the price, here's the value, here's the price, here's the value, and let them make the decision. Right?
Anytime you empower a consumer to make a decision with facts, knowledge like that, you'll end up making more money.
I had a huge following. I ran several aftermarket shops, and I was always of the opinion, you don't need to sell them everything.
Right.
You give them the options. Hey, if you do this job, it's likely to last you a certain amount of time. If this piece breaks, it's going to damage the stuff you just put on, at which point ultimately it costs you more. I have no problem doing what you want. If your goal is to get rid of the car in 6 months to a year, if it were me, I would take a chance on it, just so long as you know if the thing breaks prematurely, ultimately you'll spend more money. Right? But give them the choice. Don't make the choice for them. They're going to make one.
They'll make a decision. They will make a decision. And like I said, when you educate a consumer that way, they will pay more.
58% of people will pay more and drive further to go get it.
Right.
Because of a better experience.
That's right.
That's what I love about dating. And it's apolitical. It doesn't care who you are, what you think, what you believe. It's the facts based on history.
It's my feet are sore. My legs are sore. My hips are sore from all the standing and walking that I had to do. But I'm as excited now as tired as I am, as I was when the show started.
Yeah.
And this energy will stay with me all the way through this year. I have enough faith in what I've heard today from both the dealer community and the SaaS and DaaS partners that we have out there. That in spite of all the possible things that could go wrong, there's a lot of upside.
Oh, it's huge.
There is a tremendous upside. Yeah.
And you know what was a recurring theme also? That, and I always joke about this. It seems as though customer experience is once again important.
Yeah, well, that's a good point. Yeah, you and I were talking about that at the show, how some of the partners out there trademark different variations of customer experience.
Yeah.
Right? And I was like, wait a minute, I remember doing that with Saturn.
Yeah, how many years ago was that?
In the 90s.
Yeah.
So I thought we did that already.
I cut my teeth in the aftermarket.
Right.
45 years ago. It was important then. It's important now. And guess what? It's been important every step in the middle.
That's right.
But we seem to dust that off every few years.
Let's revisit it,
And
repackage it, rename it. Get new gurus who never really went through a hard time with that experience.
Right.
Saying, hey, this is how you should do it. And they've never done it.
And speaking of which, everybody's all hot and bothered about ChatGPT, which is a great tool.
Oh, yeah.
I think just about everybody uses it in one shape or form or another. But when you're evaluating, it may sound good or may look good on paper, but you have to ask yourself, has that person been in a store and done training and actually achieved results for somebody? Or is that person a wizard behind the curtain with ChatGPT to come up with training content?
Right. And it's still learning. We migrated from the old version of Outlook to the new version of Outlook that has their version of a ChatGPT product called Copilot.
Yeah.
And I put this really nice summary together in a Word doc, and gave it to Copilot to create the presentation. And it's not ready, still learning, can't do that for you just yet. But I asked, I said, give me some other data points, talking points.
Yeah.
It gave me that because it was able to do that. So learning and understanding what the limitations are with some of the generative AI technologies that are out there, as it grows, it'll get better. But in the meantime, we still got to cross every T, dot every I, just to make sure, because it does make mistakes. As a matter of fact, it gives you the warning too.
Right.
It gives you that warning.
Now, speaking of the warning in ChatGPT and some other AI platforms, it's really important for us to know what it's learning is it's learning from all of its users.
Yes.
So I would caution anybody and everybody to make sure you don't put personal identifiable information in there or any kind of proprietary information into this. Because as you feed the machine, pun intended, other people are drawing off of your data.
Right, yeah.
Right?
That's right, they certainly are.
So you want to be careful with that. That's something that a lot of people don't talk about, but I think we need to all be conscious of it, because nothing is really free.
No, there's a cost to it. I think in the early 2000s it was data doubles every 10 years, and then in the mid 2000s it was data is now doubling every 7, and then like in 2015 it was data is now doubling every 5 years.
What's it now?
It's about every 2 years, 2.5 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
The speed of change is what we've got to keep up with.
I remember a few years ago, I think it was a Google thing that they put out, where they had a robot with artificial intelligence call a hotel and speak with somebody at the front desk with punctuation, with voice inflection, with pauses, all that kind of stuff. And the person at the hotel did not know.
Yep.
And this is, I don't know if you saw that or not.
Oh, I didn't see that one, but I've seen some deep fakes that scared the crap out of me.
Yeah.
I'm like, wait a minute, that looks like the person I know, that sounds like the person I know, and it's all AI.
But it's not.
Right, it was AI generated.
Wow. So those are some of our takeaways from the show. I hope that those that attended also got a lot out of it. Next year's show is in New Orleans. Looking forward to that. But between now and then, we've got a lot of work to do.
We do.
So do your research. Look at the content that's out there. If you're on LinkedIn, there's so much great content. But always do your homework. Don't just take everything at face value. Any final thoughts you want to leave?
Anytime you have a question or you don't know who to talk to, reach out to us. We have a lot of contacts and connections in the industry that we can refer you to. If we don't know the answer, we know someone who might.
So if you're not connected with either Paul or myself, feel free to send us a connection request. The only thing that I say is that as long as we're relevant, if I can help you or you can help me, there's purpose to connect. If you're a nail technician somewhere in another country, we probably don't have a whole lot in common to share. I can't help you, and you might not be able to help me. But other than that, we're open. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you had a successful show. And let's go back here. Have a safe and successful next week. We'll see you next week on Sunday Night Live.
Bye, everyone.